we're just going to spend a little bit of time introducing our District 3 candidates. My name is Amber Bibetto, and I am chair for District 3. We're going to have Jeff Hoverson come on up. He is our other endorsed House candidate for District 3. Jeff had one of my favorite bills this last legislative session. That was the mask bill. That was the mask mandate bill. We didn't get everything that we wanted, but the governor and the state health department can no longer mandate that the whole state put a useless piece of cloth over your face. So thank you, Jeff, for your leadership on that. And you've been really a leader in the health freedom movement, the grassroots conservative movement, and so thank you for that. Yeah, why don't you share just a little bit about what's on your mind?
Yeah, well, that is what's on my mind. That's the main reason I'm running again. But those two are a tough act to follow, and I'm really proud to be running with Bob again, and we'll miss him as he goes to the Senate, but the Senate needs people like Bob. And Lori, what a bulldog. I like her tag on the Christian Mama Bear. That is so true. There is a grassroots movement going on in North Dakota. A lot of you may be part of it, you may be aware of it. And I definitely am part of that movement as a legislator. I've spoken probably a dozen different places, maybe 15 different places across the state of North Dakota, to grassroots groups on different topics. It was a lot of fun to do that mask bill. I had wondered, when the mandates came down, what is the science? Because that was the thing, right? We even had out here in Minot on the street signs, follow the science, okay? So I got into some conversations with the state health director about the science, and I asked him, are you aware of any random controlled studies that show that the mask stops the virus? Because I really wanted to know. Because we're talking about the medical world now playing politics, and they accuse us in politics of practicing medicine, but it's actually the other way around. And I still have the email that says, I'm not aware of any random controlled trials regarding the mask. And I thought, So now we have these unelected bureaucrats. If you've ever read the book, The Great Reset, COVID-19, Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum, and the World Health Organization, the UN. I just want to ask you, how many of you have ever had one of those guys, or Dr. Fauci, or Bill Gates, or any of them on your ballot to vote for? Anybody? Anybody voted them in? So why are they impacting us, our freedom here? And so I got to thinking about freedom, and of course, when we got done, and by the way, that bill was because of the people. We had more email traffic in the legislature on that bill than any other bill this session. It's because freedom was being taken from the people and given to unelected bureaucrats. Our vulnerability was really showing. And unfortunately, the state health department failed us miserably, utter failure. We just have to be honest about that. It's not because there's bad people, but they all trusted the wrong people, the false science, the made-up stories. Well, I want to end with this. It got me thinking about liberty, because I got accused a lot, as you can imagine, in very creative ways, about being self-centered, about not caring about people. What about love your neighbor? How could you? You're a pastor. All this kind of stuff. And it got me digging a little bit. And what I found was something that you probably already know. Liberty, defined as do whatever you want, is really not the type of liberty that our founding fathers passed down to us. That's not the version of liberty. Now that is a version of liberty, do whatever you want. But that's not the ideology that our Constitution and our North Dakota is founded on. Liberty is an ideology that actually works. And it works better than government control. For example, did you know, how many of you know Milton Friedman? Milton Friedman says, and he's correct because he's the best researcher on the economy, he says that every nation that has been pulled out of poverty has done it through the free market, not socialism. So that's what the grassroots movement is about. That's what I'm a part of. My opponent is not a part of the grassroots movement. He's a part of the country club Republicans. And so there is a clear difference and there is a clear choice. And so I hope that you will send patriots who are part of the grassroots movement, because frankly, that is the only thing that is going to help North Dakota build a wall, and then we will become a hope for the nation. I believe that in 6 years, if we do that, we can and will be the most free state in the country.
I do believe that's possible too. One other question for you. So last legislative session, there were a number of election integrity bills that were introduced. Can you just share how that went down?
Yeah, in the movie tonight, you're in for some of the most, in my opinion, some of the most compelling evidence of voter fraud in the 2020 election. This was an eye-opener. I've seen it twice, and I've thrown up twice, metaphorically speaking. It's going to make you sick once you find out what's happened. Anyway, we had a lot of bills that came through for election integrity in North Dakota. And to be fair, North Dakota wasn't in the bullseye of the controversy over election fraud. However, that doesn't mean we weren't affected. And I could go down that trail, but I won't for now, to talk about all the anomalies in North Dakota. But I will say this, we did have election integrity bills. And to answer your question, the Secretary of State, not only did we get no votes on most of them as a majority, because of rhinos, Republicans in name only, but the Secretary of State's office testified against almost all of them. Why? They favored one that they were part of making, but two of them that I carried, one was for Mike Blessum, he's not here, and then another fellow, Dustin Amundsen from Bismarck. Just the nuts and bolts of both of those that I still believe should happen, and every state should do this. Mike said, make election day, and get rid of this mail-in stuff and sending out mail-ins now. That's different than an absentee ballot for somebody that cannot get to the polls. Another thing he had in there was hand counting. And that doesn't mean you have to do it, exclude machines, but they should complement each other. And then Dustin's bill, which I thought was another brilliant one, it had a lot of things, but the sweet spot in his bill was serial numbers on every ballot. So you have a $20 bill, it has a serial number on it, it can be tracked. You can find out your own bill. And you know what, we got a lot of printers in North Dakota. How about if we print our ballots in North Dakota? And you know, to me, that would take care of 95%.
Yes, okay, well, just to be clear, what was the reaction of all?
Oh, they went, there's no appetite for that in the past legislature. So again, we need to send grassroots, patriot, true conservatives. You might see signs of some people running that say bold conservative. So where was he during the grassroots movement this past 2 years? That's all the only question I have. And the other thing is, how can you bash the bold conservatives that are already there for 4 years? I mean, literally, my opponent, he ridiculed and bashed the true conservatives, the Bastiat caucus, everything for 4 years. That's where the bold conservatives are. So why would you then suddenly want to take that title? Oh, I'm a bold conservative. You decide.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Yep.